Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Baudet, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories tonight.
Run down! Run when you no!
A South African citizen is among the victims of yesterday's attack by Al-Shabaab in Kenya. Jaw-dropping allegations today from Angelo Agrizzi, the former Bosasa COO, detailing millions paid in monthly bribes to win tenders and favours for the company. British Prime Minister Theresa May will know her fate a little later this evening. After yesterday's historic Brexit deal defeat, she now faces a no-confidence vote. Let's start here. Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta is vowing revenge following the deadly terror attack at a hotel complex in Nairobi. Yesterday's bloody siege saw 14 confirmed deaths. And we hear tonight from the SA High Commission in Nairobi that a South African citizen is among the victims. He had dual citizenship with the United Kingdom. His identity has not yet been released. Somali-based extremist group Al-Shabaab is claiming responsibility for yesterday's attack. Nicolaus Bauer has the latest.
Run down! Run when you no!
The terror attack in Nairobi officially came to an end on Wednesday morning, a little over 12 hours after it began.
I can now confirm that as of about 1 hour ago, the security operation at Dusit Complex is over and all the terrorists eliminated.
The attacks claimed the lives of at least 14 people and seen hundreds evacuated from a luxury hotel complex in the Kenyan capital. Al-Qaeda-linked terror group Al-Shabaab is vowing this attack won't be the last.
The objective is clear: sending a message to the Kenyan government for as long as your soldiers are deployed in Somalia via AMISOM, you will be a target of attack.
Some Kenyans are questioning their government's ability to keep them safe.
Security should have been beefed up since there was a warning that an attack was imminent. The government should have been more vigilant and not have waited for something to happen before getting serious. They should be serious about this at all times.
Back here, South Africa's offering its condolences.
As a country, as a continent, we are committed to ensuring that indeed the guns on the continent are silenced by 2020. And this particular attack is not only an attack on the people and the government of Kenya, but I think is an affront to the aspirations of the African continent as a whole.
Kenya remains on high alert following the incident.
Well, if you thought state capture was all about the Guptas, think again. Staggering allegations emerging today as the state capture inquiry resumed. Now, the former chief operating officer of Bosasa Facilities Management Company claims the company, now known as African Global Operations, spent up to 6 million rand every month paying bribes. Angelo Agrizzi has implicated himself, his former boss, Gavin Watson, and colleagues in corruption, and he says there's plenty more to come. Erin Bates is following the story.
All right. Day one of 2019's hearings signalled a breakthrough.
My full names are Angelo Agrizzi.
Do you have any objection with taking the prescribed oath?
I do
It's
not.
the first time a self-confessed corrupter has taken the stand.
Please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Angelo Agrizzi's admitting to being the bagman for bribe money.
You may proceed, Mr. Pretorius.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, the plastic bags are a security bag, very similar to your standard SAPS security, what do they call it?
Evidence bag?
Evidence bags. They are serialized and they have a tamper-proof seal. In this case, however, the bags are not transparent or translucent. They are grey, so you can't actually see what is in the bag. That's what they basically are. So cash would be packed in those bags and those bags would be taken out.
Agrizzi's claiming union boss Simon Mofokeng was a beneficiary of Bosasa kickbacks. Mofokeng allegedly received up to 15,000 rands worth of groceries per month.
It was bribe packs, Chair, it was cold drinks, it was various grocery items, that type of thing, and they had to be delivered to Simon Mofokeng.
Did he ever complain?
When he felt that he was being done in and he needed extra, perhaps he needed an extra couple of kilos of meat, he would phone Gavin Watson and complain incessantly.
Right, so your approval would be permission to continue to execute the order?
It'll be permission to pay a bribe, yes, Chair.
Right.
Agritzis testified bribes would be logged as operational marketing expenses. He's accusing his former boss, Gavin Watson, of leading a grossly corrupt business. Today, Watson is CEO of African Global Operations, formerly Bosasa.
Gavin Watson would spend a lot of time in my office, and so would every other director would spend a lot of time in my office, and normally I would be behind my desk and I had a small table and they would spend time there. So a lot of the times the directors would come in and ask Gavin for money because they need to sort this person out or that person out, or they need to literally pay bribes.
So when they asked for money,
yes.
Is that the description or the word they used?
Yes.
Okay.
So Gavin would then go to what I referred to specifically, and everybody else did, as Gavin Safe. Now, Gavin
According
Safe
to
is
Agritzi,
situated
Watson called the bribe cash monopoly money. The businessman is under witness protection. He's implicated about 38 people in his statement. His testimony resumes on Thursday. Erin Bates, Johannesburg.
The festive season road death toll has increased yet again. 1,612 people died between the 1st of December last year and the 8th of January this year. Now, that's nearly 100 more deaths than last year. Transport Minister Bladen Nzimande is blaming driver attitudes for the spike. 2,223 people were arrested for drunk driving over the festive season. Now the government wants to make it harder for them to get bail. Chris Hani's killer, Janusz Walusz, has yet again been denied parole. Walusz is currently serving a life sentence at Khosi Mampuru Correctional Centre. Along with Clive Darby-Lewis, he masterminded the assassination of Hani in 1993. Justice and Correctional Services Minister Michael Masuta says he's receiving conflicting psychological reports on the Polish national. And Walusz, he says, has shown remorse for Hani's family, but still is not sorry that he murdered the Communist Party leader. A meeting between the Mineral Resources Minister and the Xolobeni community in the Eastern Cape collapsed into chaos today. That's after Gwede Mantashe said his department will conduct a survey to establish whether residents will agree to titanium mining in the area. Now, the community is deeply divided over this issue. The minister's visit to Xolobeni follows a North Gauteng High Court judgment last year. The court has ruled the community must give full consent to the Mineral Resources Department before mining rights can be granted. Still ahead on eNews, Zimbabwean nationals called on the South African government to pressure Harare to respect human rights. And of course, all the markets with Rafiwa.
Absolutely, Sally. So the local unit was mixed today, but it did hold its own. And this is despite that historic vote we saw in the UK last night. We'll find out just why.
Latest news from Zimbabwe now. Activist and pastor Evan Mawarire is one of hundreds of people arrested in the past few days. Now, his family has confirmed his arrest this evening. He's expected to be charged tomorrow with inciting public violence via social media. At least 6 people have died in Zimbabwe since protests over a massive fuel price hike turned violent. Today in Pretoria, Zimbabwean nationals called on our government to pressure Harare to respect human rights. They've demonstrated outside their embassy in Pretoria, as Kaelishle Kumalo reports.
The untold suffering of Zimbabwean nationals must end. That's the war cry amongst these protesters. They believe their country is on the verge of a national crisis. Amid the deadly demonstrations against the steep fuel price hikes, internet connectivity has been shut down and sparking panic.
Mr. Ramaphosa, which is the president of South Africa, and the SADC chairperson, which happens to be the president of Botswana, to call an emergency meeting to address the crisis in Zimbabwe.
The people have spoken, why shut the internet?
No one at the Zimbabwean embassy received them, but they were not deterred, calling for South Africa to come to their rescue.
We are living in a country it's like we're in a war zone, whereby the state itself has declared war on its citizens. Without the intervention of South Africa, we're going to go back again to Mugabe's era of 2008.
South African authorities are saying they are monitoring the events in Zimbabwe. Meanwhile, the country's president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, has broken his silence, saying he's saddened by what has happened. He's denouncing any acts of violence. Mnangagwa is currently away in Russia, resulting in accusations that he's missing in action while his country is facing a disaster. Khayelihle Khumalo, Pretoria.
Let's talk rands and cents now with Rofhiwa Madzena. Thank you very much for joining us. We're talking Eskom. Now, Monday we had NERSA, the regulator, those hearings, their requests for an increase, and today we got a bigger picture of the debt problem.
Right, so the CFO has come out, Khalib Kasim, to say that they are expecting a full year loss of over 15 billion rand. Analysts are anticipating that this is going to be closer to 20 billion rand, and I mean it's more than was expected given that there's been such a significant move towards changing the management structure and really trying to turn around the power utility. So that news comes as a little bit of a shock. So, I mean, they have asked NERSA, as you've mentioned, for 15% over the next 3 years, and this money is set to really help them control the debt that they've accumulated over the years. So if they don't get this, the picture for Eskom is really dim. And I mean, and they have been criticized for focusing significantly on operational issues and not trying to fix their financial standing. So a lot of what needs to be done now going forward is really just to focus on the financial status of the company and really trying to work beyond just getting tariff increases to operate substantially.
Any indication of whether the losses can now be contained? You know, there's new leadership. Is the ship slowly turning around, or is it just going to continue to be a money pit?
So based on the fact that we have new leadership, there is a little bit of optimism that it may take a while, but that turnaround is going to happen. They will, though, need the assistance of NERSA to put through those tariffs so they can get that jump start that they need. So Goldman Sachs has said that they anticipate that if everything goes well for Eskom, the rand could improve by about 4.5%. But if it doesn't, it could tumble by about 3.5%. So really, Eskom's woes have an effect, a ripple effect on various elements of the country's economy.
Absolutely. And speaking of the rand, let's have a look at the markets today.
Let's, Sally. So today looks like the global markets priced in Prime Minister Theresa May's defeat as they remain stable. On the local front, the JSE closed higher, and that's thanks to solid performance by industrials led by Naspers and the banks and US market opening. Retail stocks were also in the green after positive retail figures. On the commodities front, mining stocks were under pressure, led by the gold miners, which lost about 1.8% today. Brent crude is still lower, hovering at that $60 a barrel mark, and this is on account of the increasing US stockpiles and signs of slower global economic growth. A quick look at your local unit now. The rand was mixed today, but it did hold its own. It was around 0.33% weaker against the US dollar after the JSE close and around 0.4% weaker against the pound.
Rofhiwa Madzena, thank you so much. We'll chat again to you tomorrow. Have a very good
Thank you, very much.
Let's take a look at other international news now. A bid by prosecutors at the International Criminal Court to stop former Ivorian leader Laurent Gbagbo from returning to his country has failed. Judges have turned down their request. Prosecutors argued that he would possibly fail to return to the ICC in The Hague in the event of an appeal or a retrial. Well, the court acquitted the former president on war crimes charges yesterday. And another big night in the United Kingdom. British MPs are voting on a no-confidence motion in Prime Minister Theresa May's government. Shortly, probably within the next half an hour, in fact. MPs have been debating the motion all afternoon. Now, the vote, of course, was called by opposition Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn after May's proposed Brexit deal was roundly rejected last night. May says she's confident that she will defeat the motion against her. Well, still ahead, we'll go to Candace at our weather centre in Cape Town. Hi there, Candace. And then a Moldovan athlete sports frosty eyebrows and lashes, tackling a marathon for a good cause. Ooh. Ooh. To Cape Town we go. Candace McKechnie has all your weather news. Good evening. How's it looking?
Hi Sally, well we've actually had a bit of a thunderstorm activity that was a bit delayed this afternoon, not much happening, but the one thing that we are watching is quite a stationary low pressure over the southern parts of Mozambique, very likely sucking quite a bit of that moisture out of the northeastern parts, but despite that we're still keeping in thunderstorm activity over the eastern parts. Now tomorrow we'll see rain along parts of the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal coastline, and we're expecting isolated to scattered thunder showers over the northeastern and eastern interior. Another very hot and sunny days expected over the central part of South Africa, and we'll see lots of cloud building up in the west in the second part of the day, and that's ahead of a cold front which will arrive overnight on Thursday. Here's a look at your city forecast across South Africa. Still sunny and sizzling hot throughout the Northern Cape. A high of around 40 for Uppington, Prieska, Pietersburg and Kimberley, 31 for Kilvinia and Sutherland. Hot over the Western Cape interior, many of those highs in the mid-30s. Warm along the coastline, partly cloudy for Cape Town at 28, and even George warming up to a sunny 29. Hot across the Eastern Cape interior with the possibility of showers along parts of that coastline and the adjacent lying interior, Mthatha at 30 degrees. We keep around that 30-degree mark as we head towards the KwaZulu-Natal coastline. A combination of showers and thunder showers here. 34 degrees for Ladysmith and Newcastle. Scattered thunderstorms are forecast for the Mpumalanga Highveld. You'll see most maximum temperatures peaking in the upper 20s and low 30s. 32 degrees for Bombela. Isolated to scattered thunder showers also forecast for Limpopo. 30 for Polokwane, with Lephalale and Thabazimbi heading into the mid-30s. Still hot for northwest, but particularly hot over the western parts with heatwave conditions continuing. Vryburg and Bloemhof at 38 degrees, with a few thunder showers over the eastern part of the province. You'll also see thunder showers over the eastern part of the Free State, Bethlehem and Harrismith at 31, and those heatwave conditions continuing over the western part of the Free State. 38 degrees for Bloemfontein, 31 for Soweto and Johannesburg, Pretoria 33, with up to a 60% chance of thunderstorms for Gauteng on Thursday. On Friday, you'll see sizzling hot weather into KwaZulu-Natal, with some rain remaining over the western and southern parts due to that cold front. Still hot with thunder showers in the northeast all the way through to the start of the weekend, where we're expecting cloudy, wet and cooler weather for KwaZulu-Natal. That's all from the Weather Centre. Back to you, Sally.
Thank you very much, Candace. And finally, a Moldovan athlete has demonstrated that not even extreme cold can stand in the way of a good deed. Dmitry Voloshin completed a 50-kilometre race through one of the world's coldest terrains, all to raise funds for a child living with a neurological disorder. Now, it's dubbed the Unfrozen Charity Run. The race navigates through snow-covered Siberian fields with temperatures of minus 60 degrees Celsius. Now, the campaign has already raised around $3,600 for a 4-year-old girl who has cerebral palsy. What an incredible feat. Let's recap your top story this evening.
Run down! Run while you know!
A South African citizen confirmed among the victims of yesterday's attack by Al-Shabaab in Kenya. Jaw-dropping allegations today from Angelo Agrizzi, the former Bosasa COO, detailing millions paid in monthly bribes to win tenders and favours for the company. British Prime Minister Theresa May will know her fate probably in the next few minutes. After yesterday's historic Brexit deal defeat, she now faces a no-confidence vote. From me and the team, it's a very good night.